it. The people in an American territory, Puerto Rico, really enjoyed it. But the people in the heartland had no idea what the hell was happening. This is a guy who loves to parade around in a dress, who, again, hangs out with Jay-Z and his Epstein-loving pals, who gets up there when he's not bashing America with his pals at Green Day, who are from the far left People's Republic of California, who have never missed a chance to rip on Trump, MAGA, half the country, or ICE, and that's something they share with Bad Bunny. That's not representative of what the heartland wants to see. And the heartland always gets the middle finger from people like Jay-Z, like Roger Goodell, who should know better, but he's a panderer who runs the NFL. And that's why you had probably closer to 10 million people turning the channel and turning to the Turning Point event, which was pro-American, which was absolutely beautiful, which had several references to God and faith and this country, which had a tribute to Charlie Kirk at the end of it, and talked about Jesus and how he can change your life. That's what America's all about. We are founded as a Christian nation. We're still a Christian nation. And what we want is somebody up there to celebrate how freaking special this country is, not a bunch of people who can't stand us. And over what? Over our desire to get illegal immigrants who are raping and molesting our children out of our country. That's all ISIS
Piers Morgan asked Megyn Kelly one simple question. And in that moment, the entire conversation changed. What started as a routine debate about the Super Bowl halftime show, Bad Bunny, and the endless argument over what counts as real America suddenly turned into something much bigger. You could feel it happening in real time. The tone of the room shifted, the confidence started to wobble, and what looked like a standard political discussion quickly spiraled into one of those rare live TV moments where a single question flips the entire script. And here's the thing. There was no shouting, no dramatic interruption, no over-the-top theatrics. That's what made it so fascinating. Piers didn't raise his voice. He didn't try to overpower the conversation. Instead, he did something far more effective. He stayed calm, leaned into the logic of the argument, and dropped a question so simple, so precise, that it completely changed the direction of the debate. Suddenly, the energy in the room shifted. The confident back and forth about culture, patriotism, and the Super Bowl halftime show started to feel a lot less stable. What had been framed as a strong cultural argument was now being forced to answer a contradiction that nobody had addressed before. And when that moment hits, you can almost see the gears turning live on air. Trust me, when you see how this unfolds, it's one of those debate moments that makes you pause and say, wait, did that just happen? Because sometimes the most powerful move in a debate isn't a long speech or a fiery rant. Sometimes it's just one well-placed question that exposes everything underneath the surface. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now, let's break down exactly how this debate started, and how it slowly built toward that moment that nobody in the room saw it coming.
Let's get into something, because there are going to be some things that I talk about with you where we're going to be in total agreement. But I'm going to start with something where I know we are totally in disagreement, and that is Bad Bunny. So I got up this morning and I watched it all without reading anything about it. I just thought, I want to watch this completely clean without anyone's view contaminating my brain cells. And I watched all 15 minutes of it. And I've watched every halftime show going back 30, 40 years. I thought as a piece of theater, it was the best I've seen. Just the most extraordinary kind of Broadway on steroids piece of theater. I also thought it wasn't remotely divisive politically in the end. His Grammys speech was, but his performance, I thought, was actually a lot of things which I would have thought people on the conservative right would applaud. It was about love. A couple actually got married for real in the middle of it. He was preaching about unity, not just the United States of America, but the wider Americas. What was the problem, Megyn?
A certain male gesture is coming to mind, but I'm not sure I can do it on this show. No, it wasn't about what he was actually going to do during the middle of the Super Bowl performance. It's about him. It's about him being chosen as the Super Bowl performer, somebody who's been an outspoken critic, of course, of the Trump administration and of America and our anti-immigrant policies. This is long before the current controversy over ICE. He doesn't want illegals deported from this country. Well, too bad, because the majority of Americans do want that and are not shy about pushing for it. And that's why President Trump got elected. So he and his little buddies over at Green Day never miss a chance to bash the United States of America. He got selected because Jay-Z, for some reason, has got the choice over who performs at our Super Bowl, who's another problem. Don't even get me started on his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. Why is he choosing who's appropriate for American children to watch during our seminal sporting event? And I'm sorry, Piers, but to get up there and perform the whole show in Spanish is a middle finger to the rest of America. Who gives a damn that we have 40 million Spanish speakers in the United States? We have 310 million who don't speak a lick of Spanish. This is supposed to be a unifying event for the country, not for the Latinos, not for one small group, but for the country. We don't need a black national anthem. We don't need a Spanish-speaking, non-English performer, and we don't need an ICE or America hater featured as our primetime entertainment.
Okay, what is the national language, officially the national language of the United States of America?
I mean, English. And there's been a push for many years to make it an official,
you don't have one.
Documented thing.
You don't have one.
If you would have let me finish my comment, I would have pointed that out, that people have been pushing to make it official.
Okay,
right,
so you're trying to make official.
This attitude that you have right here is why you in Great Britain have lost your culture. You ceded your culture to a bunch of radical Muslims who came in and took over, and now it's gone. We're not allowing that here, whether it's Hispanic, whether it's Muslim. It's not happening in the United States of America. That's why President Trump was elected. And whether it's Bad Bunny, who is American but refuses to speak English in his performances, or anybody else, we have to keep the Super Bowl, which is a quintessential American event. Football, that kind of football, is ours. They call it American football. And the halftime show and everything around it needs to stay quintessentially American. Not Spanish, not Muslim, not anything other than good old-fashioned American apple pie. There should be a meatloaf, maybe some fried chicken, and an English-speaking performer. That's what the Super Bowl should be.
Okay, two things. One, you've conceded you don't have a national language in the United States officially. And secondly, the language you do want to be your official language is my language. The language of the country you think has gone to pot. So my obvious follow-up is, Megyn, why do you want English as your national language if you think England has gone to hell in a handcart?
Piers, I think those medications for your hip have gone too far. We need to dial back a pill or two, okay? We want something that we can all understand. I don't think Bad Bunny used his appearance to bash America, but I can't be sure because I didn't see any subcaptions on his Spanish language performance.
But what about Pavarotti?
They chose two America haters.
What about Pavarotti, who Donald Trump in 2016 in particular would use at every campaign rally? He's used it at the RNC, right, as a triumphant, tub-thumping anthem. Well, no, hang on. Not only Pavarotti.
I've been at lots of Trump rallies. Pavarotti gets a song, maybe two.
He sings, but when he sings Nessun Dorma in Italian, I don't see you leaping up and down going, I can't understand a word of it. You're probably singing along.
I don't remember him being the Super Bowl halftime show, was he?
Well, would you have minded if he was?
Yes, I would have, because we feature English-speaking performers at the quintessentially American event of the Super Bowl. We do Michael Jackson. We do Whitney Houston. We do great bands that love America, like American rap. That's a different situation. This guy, who can't stand the country, comes out and starts speaking in Spanish, and I'm sure the people in South Florida really enjoyed it. The people in an American territory, Puerto Rico, really enjoyed it. But the people in the heartland had no idea what the hell was happening. This is a guy who loves to parade around in a dress, who again hangs out with Jay-Z and his Epstein-loving pals, who gets up there when he's not bashing America with his pals at Green Day, who are from the far left People's Republic of California, who have never missed a chance to rip on Trump, MAGA, half the country, or ICE, and that's something they share with Bad Bunny. That's not representative of what the heartland wants to see. And the heartland always gets the middle finger from people like Jay-Z, like Roger Goodell, who should know better, but he's a panderer who runs the NFL. And that's why you had probably closer to 10 million people turning the channel and turning to the Turning Point event, which was pro-American, which was absolutely beautiful, which had several references to God and faith and this country, which had a tribute to Charlie Kirk at the end of it, and talked about Jesus and how he can change your life. That's what America's all about. We were founded as a Christian nation. We're still a Christian nation. And what we want is somebody up there to celebrate how freaking special this country is, not a bunch of people who can't stand us. And over what? Over our desire to get illegal immigrants who are raping and molesting our children out of our country. That's all ICE is doing.
Let me present a different view of Bad Bunny, which is he's the son of a truck driver and a teacher, born in Puerto Rico. He's an American, born there, naturalized American. He is the most successful artist in the world. He's the most streamed artist globally on Spotify for 4 consecutive years, nearly 20 billion downloads in 2025 alone. He has sold 123 million equivalent album sales. He's won Grammys. He's won everything. He is a fantastically successful American story, isn't he? And isn't the fact that he ends up performing at the halftime show exactly the kind of journey that America was founded on, which is a guy who comes from very little, born in America, who actually makes it to the biggest pinnacle because he is, right? I mean, look, I love Kid Rock, okay? And I actually really enjoy the Turning Point show as well. I like them both. But Kid Rock's not had a hit single in the last 11 years. This guy is right now the hottest star in the world, and he should be on the halftime show. I can't think of a compelling reason why not.
Because he's too divisive, Piers. I'm giving you the reason. Maybe because you're not an American, you don't get it. He is too divisive a figure. No one would begrudge him his personal success story. Good for him. Great. We love that here in America. Just like we love when our half-pipe freestyle skiers make it to the Olympics. Despite all odds, they overcome them. But when you go overseas wearing the American uniform and you bash America on foreign soil, when you're wearing our stars and stripes, we get very upset here in America. It's not that we don't stand for free speech or differences of opinion or love rags to riches stories. We do all of those things. But there are certain things that we expect of the people who are representing us when they're overseas as Olympic athletes or when they're in the middle of the Super Bowl, which is our event. That is a heartland event that gets usually man, but lots of women too, on their feet, feeling patriotic year after year. It's one of the reasons why we love it. And the last thing we want is someone who's a harsh partisan who we know can't stand the country. And you're wrong. He wasn't totally patriotic at that event. He ended it by saying, God bless America, and then listed all the countries in all of the Americas, which is not how we here in the United States view the USA. We actually do believe in American exceptionalism, and we believe we actually do have a higher claim to morality than some of the countries he was listing, like Mexico.
But you wouldn't want him to have his First Amendment rights infringed on his ability to criticize certain policies of a particular American. Of course not.
American no one's talking about that. But he has no right to perform at the Super Bowl. As an American citizen?
Really? That's disqualified. So
the First Amendment has nothing to do with it.
Anyone who's ever been...
The First Amendment has nothing to do with it. The First Amendment is about government censorship of speech.
Hang on. Anyone who's been critical then of the U.S. government should not be allowed to perform at the halftime show. Is that your position?
I don't think that'd be my selection. I do think you should find somebody who is more of a unifier, and there are plenty of them. There are still millions of people out there who have very strong political opinions, but they don't voice them publicly because they realize they're in a line of work where that could be alienating to their customer base. The same is true for these performers. And if you want to be super outspoken, if you want to be a Jane Fonda, then go for it. But don't expect yourself to be placed in the middle of what's supposed to be a nonpartisan event and be a so-called unifier. We put up with this year after year after year. But right now, we're in a serious battle over immigration enforcement, something the country voted for overwhelmingly. And to pick two acts who are as outspoken against that as these two and plop them in the middle of the event is a middle finger by Roger Goodell. It's picking a side in the most divisive debate we're having right now in the country. And it was wrong. It was a mistake.
Good. Well, I'm glad we reached a point of zero agreement on that. Well, let's move to an issue where I think we will agree, and this is the separate issue of Hunter Hess, the U.S. Winter Olympic skier, who said this at the weekend.
It brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think. It's a little hard. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think a lot of people aren't. I think for me, it's more I'm representing my like friends and family back home, the people that represented it before me, all the things that I believe are good about the U.S. I just think if it aligns with my moral values, I feel like I'm representing it. Just because I'm wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the U.S.
You see, I think when you're representing your country, I'm trying to think, what would I feel if that was a Team GB guy saying that about Britain? And I wouldn't like it, because I think if you're representing your country in a global event like the Olympics, just avoid criticizing your country while you're doing it. It seems to me pretty straightforward transactional deal.
Do you know what athletes over here would give to don the stars and stripes and go represent the United States at the Olympic Games? Anything. Those things get decided by 1/100th of a second when it comes to speed or landings, etc. And this guy, he gets the privilege of going, and he has forgotten the most important lesson of the great Herb Brooks, who coached the Miracle on Ice team that won against the Russians in 1980 in an event so historic, they've made several movies out of it and documentaries beyond, which is the name on the front of your jersey is a whole hell of a lot more important than the one on the back. You go because you're representing the United States of America, not the guy back here. No one gives a damn about you, Mr. Hess. You'll be forgotten in about 2 minutes, whether you win gold or not. That's the truth. But your bad behavior about your country and the flag that you have been sent to represent will be remembered for a long time. You have single-handedly managed to alienate more than half the country, because it's not just conservatives who are outraged at this. There are still a lot of old, regular, moderate, liberal Americans who don't like this crap. If you can't represent the country proudly, don't go. And he says, oh, I'm representing my family and my friends. They don't have the power to let you wear those stars and stripes. They are not empowered to grant you that uniform and let you say you represent the United States of America and run in the red, white, and blue, or ski in the red, white, and blue. They can't do that for you. Your friends and family can give you the hot cocoa when you come in from the mountain, but they can't give you the stars and stripes and America on your back. So if you can't represent that country proudly, get that jersey off of your back and give it to someone who can. I think I speak for most Americans when I say we'd rather lose. We'd rather come in third or second or not place at all than win with a guy who can't stand the country.
What makes this exchange so fascinating isn't just the disagreement itself. Political debates happen every day. People argue about culture, immigration, music, and what represents America all the time. But this moment between Piers Morgan and Megyn Kelly stands out because it shows how a single, well-timed question can completely change the direction of a conversation. For most of that segment, Megyn Kelly looked confident in her position. She built a long argument about the Super Bowl halftime show, about why Bad Bunny was controversial, and about Spanish being used during what she described as a quintessentially American event. Piece by piece, she tried to frame a broader narrative that American culture was being pushed aside and needed protecting. For a moment, that structure seemed solid. She connected criticism of Bad Bunny, frustration with the NFL, references to Jay-Z, and broader cultural concerns. It was all meant to support one core point, that the halftime show should reflect what she believed to be a unified American identity. But then came the turning point. Piers Morgan didn't interrupt with a speech or try to overpower the conversation. Instead, he asked one calm question. Megyn, why do you want English as your national language if you think England has gone to hell in a handcart? And just like that, the tone of the debate shifted. Because that single question introduced a contradiction that hadn't been addressed. If English is supposed to be protected as the defining language of American culture, but the country that gave birth to that language is being described as culturally broken, then the logic suddenly becomes harder to defend. That's the power of a precise question in a debate. Piers didn't try to dismantle the entire argument. He simply pressed on one small pressure point. And once that pressure was applied, the conversation started to wobble. The confident rhythm turned defensive, and the focus shifted from attacking Bad Bunny to explaining the contradiction that had just been exposed. And that's what made the moment so compelling. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was simply one calm question that forced the entire argument to confront its own logic. In the end, it felt less like a shouting match and more like a chess match. One careful move revealing the weakness on the board. And with that one question, the entire dynamic of the debate changed.